Hello, this is Alex from the Sara Alert team, and today's training is about the Monitoree self-reports. These are the reports that Monitorees fill out every day as part of Sara Alert. They're automated, sent from the Sara Alert system via text, phone, or email, and the Monitoree fills out their daily report and it's logged in the Sara Alert system. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the specifics of these reports, what they look like, and what you'll see as a Sara Alert user in the system based on how the Monitoree responds to their daily report. So let's get started. So I want to give a quick overview of today's training. We're going to be talking about the Monitoree daily reports and a couple different specific topics, the types of the daily reports the Monitorees fill out, the different contact methods for the Monitorees, and the supported languages for the daily reports. And this training is really relevant for all Sara Alert users because it's important for all users to understand how Monitorees interact with the system and what the Monitoree reporting looks like. It'll help you get a sense of what Sara Alert does, how it works, no matter what type of user you are in the system. So in Sara Alert, the Monitoree daily reports differ depending on how the Monitoree is interacting with the system. And there's 4 different ways that Monitorees interact. They can choose to report via an emailed web link. The Monitoree will receive an email with a daily symptom report and respond that way every day. They'll check off from a list of symptoms, as you can see here in the bottom left, and they'll click submit and report in that way. Monitorees can respond also via a texted web link. So a similar idea, instead of receiving the link to their daily report over email, they'll have it sent via text if they have a smartphone, and they can respond over their smartphone. Monitorees can also choose to participate in Sara Alert by receiving daily symptom reports just via text or via phone. If they choose to do that, they receive a slightly different type of symptom report. And so I'll show that actually in the next slide. But right now, we're talking about Monitorees that respond via web link methods. So if they get a texted or emailed web link that they click on to fill out their daily symptom report. And as I mentioned, if they do that, their report looks like this image here in the bottom left. They'll see a checklist of different symptoms that they could be experiencing, and this is based on CDC and CSDE guidance for current Sara Alert, current COVID symptoms, and our team updates that periodically when new guidance is received. And the Monitoree will choose the symptoms that they're experiencing, they'll check them off from the list and click submit. And as a result, we can see as a user exactly the symptoms that the Monitoree is experiencing if they do report symptoms. And that'll be highlighted in their daily symptom report in the report section of their record. A symptomatic Monitoree's report, the positive symptom report will be highlighted in red, and the specific symptoms the Monitoree is experiencing will be highlighted with a red yes. And I'll show you a better example of what that actually looks like in the system in a moment. And so with the text or emailed web link options, we kind of recommend these reporting options, right? Because we can get the most detail from a Monitoree. We can see each individual symptom that the Monitoree is experiencing. Each symptom is assessed, and each household member, if the Monitoree is reporting as part of a household, they receive an individual link sent to the head of household who fills out this same questionnaire, this checklist for each Monitoree in the system. And so what I mean by seeing more information, right, is if we were to look here at a Monitoree's record, and I'm here now in our demo system in Sara Alert, we can see this Monitoree is reporting via emailed web link. So they get emailed a web link every day, and they click on the symptom questionnaire that looks like this. They can check several different symptoms that they are experiencing. If they click submit, you'll see that in Sara Alert, we can see the specific symptoms that they selected reported in their report section here. Right? The symptomatic report is highlighted in red, and the Monitoree's symptoms that they reported are highlighted with a red yes. If the Monitoree reports via SMS text, so not the web link option, just via text, or via a phone call, Sara Alert collects less granular information. We don't have as much information because the Monitoree responds instead of to a checklist kind of questionnaire that I showed before. The Monitoree instead responds to a single yes or no question about the presence of any symptoms on our list. And so you see an example here of a Monitoree text. This was from earlier in the life of Sara Alert when we were asking about fewer symptoms, just cough, difficulty breathing, and fever. Obviously, we're asking about a much larger group of symptoms now. But you can get the basic idea from this image, right? That the Monitoree receives a text like this, and the question that's asked is the Monitoree experiencing any of the following symptoms? Please respond with a single yes or no answer. So as a result, we only know if the Monitoree has reported yes to the presence of any of the symptoms on the list, or no to the absence of all of the symptoms on this list. And as a result, for the Monitoree's report, we'll only see a symptomatic report highlighted in red, just as we saw previously, but the specific symptoms that the Monitoree is reporting, we don't know, right? We would have to follow up with the Monitoree if we wanted to find out exactly which symptoms they're experiencing. And so let me show you what that looks like here in our system. Here's an example of a different record that's responding via SMS text message. So they're responding via text. They get a text just like I showed on the slide. And if they report symptoms, their report will look like this. It'll be highlighted in red, but we won't be able to see which symptoms they're experiencing. Okay. And of course, voice telephone reporting works the same way. The Monitoree will be read a list of symptoms over the phone in an automated phone call, and they'll respond with a single yes or no. Yes, meaning the presence of any of the symptoms that were listed, and no, meaning the absence of all of the symptoms that were listed. Okay, so Sara Alert supports several different languages for these Monitoree daily reports. Right now, we're supporting English, which is the default language if none is selected. We also support Spanish, including Puerto Rican Spanish, French, and Somali. And we're adding to this list. We're working with jurisdictions to identify their language needs and adding them as we go with Sara Alert. So expect this list to grow in the next few months. And so this primary language is specified either on import. There's a field in the import file where you can specify the Monitoree's preferred language, or it's specified on enrollment. It's one of the fields in our enrollment wizard. On the first page, you can specify preferred language from a drop-down list. And if you select nothing from that drop-down, or if you select a language that isn't currently supported, the system will default to English for that Monitoree. I just want to reiterate that this is the language for the monitorees in the system, not for the users, right? This is the language that the folks who were monitoring at Sara Alert, who we suspect are, were exposed to COVID or are current cases, this is how they interact with the system, and this is the language of their preferred, way that they will report into Sara Alert. All right, so that concludes this part of Sara Alert training. For more questions, comments, feel free to visit saraalert.org. And until next time.